If 3D printing is an ocean, my explorations have been but a coffee mug's worth of the totality. Any hobby you can imagine has hundreds of creators supplementing it, upgrading it, or entirely keeping alive the Lich-esque corpse form of ancient, nearly lost franchises. Vast seas stretch before me. The limits of human imagination make an ever-receding horizon, and I must sail farther to find the limits of this machine. The limits of what toys it can make, what it's best at, and God, whether or not I'm capable of printing a frickin' box. Hi, I'm JettKuso, and I'm a very multifaceted person. Those familiar with the channel should know the kinds of things I usually talk about. But I like a lot of stuff that I've never made a video about before. So what about those other hobbies? What 3D printable goodies exist for those? I'm gonna dive into all of them. Everything I do. All my favorite... Alright, full disclosure. Something's kind of been looming over me. Something that scares me, and I don't really know why. It's something a good portion of my audience has been asking for ever since I started this 3D printing series, and so far I've been talking about anything else, whether it's Beyblade or Bionicle, but everyone wants it. Everyone's saying they want it, so I should just buckle down, cut the nonsense, and talk about— oh, look, a little horse for my D&D minis. Oh, now that's cute. Aww. Perfect for all the times I bring my horse into battle map combat, cause I disregard animal safety and you should too. So I've been dungeon mastering for years now and I've never talked about it on the channel, but when I started, I made the conscious decision not to use minis, cause minis are prohibitively expensive and buying them and painting them every time I want a bad guy to attack just didn't click with how I want to run the game. Instead, I've relied on theater of the mind combat, which is where you all play pretend and the players gain access to a fun mechanic called asking, "Where am I again? Wait, how far away is that?" I quite like the freedom of that style of play, but there are times when slapping down a grid and flooding it with monsters is basically essential. Ironically, I've been printing minis in a different way for a while, but yeah, they're not super pretty. I've always been told that filament printers can't print minis with good detail, but again and again I've been shocked by the precision of these bamboo printers. This video is sponsored by Bamboo, by the way. In only like an hour I printed these NPC minis like a charm on the Bamboo A1. I did break a few ankles and spears while taking off the supports, but it was a piece of cake to super glue them back on, and honestly this level of detail is literally all I'd ever need. Bam! Behir! Bam! Dragon! Shaka 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 shaka! Ghouls! I printed these the day before a session that I just ran, and not even on the highest resolution settings. You can see the difference that the different layer heights make, and it matters more for like PC minis than the monsters, which just need to be good representations of the guys. But if I can spend a couple hours and suddenly have 7 ghouls to flood the battlefield with, that's pretty cool. The fact that I can just go online, find some STL files for some minis, run them through the slicer, and have the minis as soon as I've planned an encounter, I have yet to find a workflow that better suits the creative freedom that I want as a DM. I haven't painted any of these minis yet, and a big part of that is that I want you to see the print quality as it actually is for the video, but also, I don't know how to paint them. That said, I have used the AMS Light to multicolor print a couple things. Simple stuff like the golden eyes, talons, and white teeth of this dragon, which make it look a lot more alive with very little extra filament. And here's a Warforged fighter printed out of gold, silver, and glittering galaxy purple. If I had the time, I could dive into the world of dungeon tiles, cause my god, there are open sourced formats for building 3D printed modular dungeons and oh, it's very pretty. Oh, that'd take up a whole lot of time. A whole video about terrain. That's not what my audience wants though, is it? Half of you followed me for one thing and one thing alone. I mean, I'll get around to it, I need to test the printer more, you know? Cause details on a single piece are one thing, but it's no simple task to make a pile of parts that can cleanly fit together into one toy, so screw it. Let's print a Gundam.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Gunpla, whatever, you get it. So, after a little research, I'm realizing that this isn't actually a thing people do very much. Printing a full Gunpla kit, I mean. People do it. I did find some STL files that duplicate official kits, but it's a little rare on the big platforms. Gunpla aren't game pieces in the way that D&D minis are. They don't serve a function apart from being fun to build and fun to look at. So, Gunpla people tend to be way more detail obsessed. Accuracy obsessed, to make these little guys look like big guys. Though that isn't to say a 3D printing subcommunity doesn't exist within Gunpla spaces. There are a ton of peripherals. Special weapons galore, Crocs for your high grades. A very common accessory are these runner organizers to make your builds a little bit easier. And on these websites, like JoJo's Part 3 through 9, there are stands everywhere. Endless stands. A Gunpla in a cool pose? This must be the work of a 3D printed stand. That said, I was able to print this model put up by Hata 3D. Entry grade and brutally simple. I tried printing at the correct scale, but the really small bits like tiny prongs and little holes came out a little bit rough with normal PLA. Basically the same issue as the ankles on the minis. With a bit of trimming and shaving for fit, it was coming together pretty well over the course of a few plates worth of prints on the mini. But then a cat stole some of the parts that I'd left out and bapped them under the oven, and I opted to start over, scaling the parts up just 20%, and the results were delightful. Now, by scaling it up, I do lose access to the stands people have made, cause they're meant for the correct 1/44th scale, and just kidding, I can also scale the stands up by 20% and it works fine. I control the narrative. It's my printer, it's my channel, you can't tell me what to do. It's gonna cut out halfway through that. Let's talk printers. A contractual obligation? Yes, but I don't mind because I really like these printers. In order to print so many objects for this video, I used both the A1 combo and this, the A1 mini combo, interchangeably, often keeping both printers running for hours on end or even overnight. The mini is a perfect enough size for pretty much any of the small single items in the video. For scale, this dragon took up most of the plate. Whereas I printed all of the parts of this little gizmo on just one plate of the full-sized A1. And if I can sing the praises of both, only on rare occasions do I have to reprint anything. They print basically everything with insane quality, insanely consistently. Even more so when using the creator uploaded print profiles on MakerWorld. The functionality is a no-brainer. Just a few clicks or a couple taps on the built-in screen, and anyone can print nearly anything with no experience. They aren't just good entry-level printers, they're good 3D printers in general. Not to mention, they're the only printers at this price point that can multicolor print this well. I like the printers, and you have a very good opportunity to try them out yourself. Don't miss Bamboo Lab's best deals between October 21st till December 3rd. Find out more via Bamboo Lab's early Black Friday page to get the biggest deal of the year. I've put links in the description to both of the printers featured in this video, so click those links to check out the deals before they're gone. Okay, awesome! Another hobby down. Let's keep the train going. Keep it rolling. Next fandom, next...
And so, JettKuso searched deep into the recesses of his mind. There had to be something else left to talk about other than Bakugan. Yes, JettKuso had had a hard day working at the Talking About My Favorite Thing factory and wanted a break. But he didn't want to disappoint all the excited little children. It was a little like the plot of Spider-Man 2, where Spider-Man is questioning whether or not he wants to be Spider-Man, which is the coolest thing to be. And in that conflict, JettKuso made a very bold decision.
I used to like Doctor Who a lot. Alright, I'll admit it. I never stopped being a Tumblr user from the year 2013. I'm cringe and I'm proud, and I'm kinda into Doctor Who again after the last season being mostly good and incredibly queer. As such, Behold! A rack for the countless sonic screwdriver toys that I already have, with the seal of Rassilon on it and everything. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Is this anything? Is this good content? Are you having fun? Is this what you came for? Ah! Fine, I'll print something that frickin' transforms. Here's a transformer I made. This is by LNZ, and it's a transformer that turns into a TARDIS. This is a totally original model, and it's deeply, deeply charming. Compact, a fun transformation, altogether a shining example of what a fan-made custom can be. A million other generic transforming toys exist on these various community platforms, but not a lot of full-sized printable transformers like this. And this isn't even the only printable transforming TARDIS. All of this made me realize that through all of my searching, I've noticed a pattern in every single fandom. People create that which the copyright holders will not. It feels almost rebellious. For Transformers, it's mostly things like full-sized props, a display stand for Unicron, feet and hands, and aftermarket hips for combiners. Transformers fans are very well fed. The official toys are popping off right now. And still, the 3D printing community rises up to fill in the cracks that still exist. When a full Transformer does get designed, it's because an official toy doesn't exist, and these days that's quite rare. Hasbro covers most of their own bases. But look over at Bionicle, a dead, unsupported brand where 3D printing is the only outlet to create new parts, and you'll find an immense amount of creativity and support. Is that why people want me to talk about 3D printing for the Marble brand? Not because there's a lot of people who already want to watch that, but because for those who do want it, this channel is one of the last things that exists. Because that brand is dead! Because they're starving, and the community is all that's left, and even that is dwindling fast, and so they need me to talk about this. And so do I have an obligation to keep doing this for them, for you, because I've been doing it for so long? Because it's easy for me and it makes me money, whether or not I really mean it, whether or not I really care? In this, I am just a lemming, and you're the Disney filmmakers chasing me off the cliff. Or maybe you're not. This might be nobody's experience but mine alone, and I'm psyching myself out over what I think most people are here for. Cause since I was 13 years old, I've been this guy, the Bakugan guy. Those are the comments that I get the most, because that's who I was for a long time. Or maybe you're a 3D printing enthusiast who doesn't know me at all and has no idea what I'm talking about or what any of this is about and only clicked this video for the premise alone. Maybe you subscribed for my Transformers videos. Those are as popular as anything else that I've made. Indeed, maybe you're part of the fewer regular viewers who are choosing to watch this video, and not the more regular viewers who won't watch anything unless it's the exact subject they subscribed for. See details. You know what? Sure, yeah, I'll talk about the dead Marble brand. In fact, this is a great example of the thing that I was saying about well-fed fandoms, cause there really isn't a less well-fed hobby anime fandom than this one. Final topic of the video, you've all been waiting for it, you've all asked for it, B-Daman! B-Daman! This might actually be the most active of any 3D printing hobby anime community I've ever seen. People make full B-Damans, replacement parts, adapters to cross different generations, entire magazines, and a variety of customs so broad that I can't even comprehend it. Still, there's one amazing thing that I have to show specifically. These are direct hit battle barrels for B-Daman Crossfire, and more importantly, for Bottleman. Or as my friend at youtube.com/Dangan Ranger suggested, direct hit bottle. I've Frickin' love them! The exact history of this game and the way that it works is beyond the scope for today's video. I actually made a couple of videos about them already, but if you're an outsider, just know that this is wish fulfillment on the grandest possible scale. These barrels turn what have been just some lonely target shooting launcher toys into a competitive, high-speed shootout skill game. Finally, something to do with your frickin' bottle men! These are fun, and beyond that, they provide a purpose that has not existed, filling and thus fulfilling something that the company that makes these has been totally neglecting. Much like those 33 Chilean miners for exactly 69 days, this fandom has turned into an underground community. The B-Daman community is a 3D printing community these days, because it basically has to be. This is all there is. 3D printing is the refuge that keeps the fans engaged when the company that owns the brand can't or won't support their hobby. This is what, in my opinion, 3D printing is absolutely best for. To give power to the people when those who own the power are doing nothing with it. Toy collecting is a space that, for many decades, has been relegated to the purely consumeristic. There's been no way for collector communities to exist, to create, to flourish, or even survive without constant corporate output and the constant purchasing of new items. That has always been the demand of a fandom that surrounds the manufacturing of plastic items. That is, until now. True community is at its absolute strongest when people are unburdened from the looming shadow of corporations, when they no longer exist only under the stranglehold of whatever advantageous business decisions that some company decides upon. That is the truth of 3D printing toys. For all the quirks of printing, the toys we can make are ours, and ours alone. Most of the stuff that people put online are with Creative Commons licenses, so anyone can take them, modify them, and make it what they want. Basically, the question is, when a company won't make the things that we would all buy, when a company loses the rights to designs they once had, when they stop supporting a game that people love, or when they simply decide that a brand that's created friendships, friend groups, relationships, global love for one thing, when a brand that's been fumbled into the ground needs to be put on pause, what does a community do? They make their own. So what do I do then when the people who love what I make are telling me that this is what I have to make, that this is what they want, and that I need to do it whether I want to do it or not? I guess I suck it up and print some Bakugan.